I picked up a dying, colorful little snake with horns by the river. The next day, there was a gorgeous girl with dragon horns in my bed. She held me tight, trying to look fierce but just being cute. Rubbing her face and horns against my neck, she whispered, "You're so warm, since you touched my dragon horns. You have to take responsibility for me." And just like that, I was forced into a life of raising a dragon. I had to teach her how to use the toilet, how to watch TV. Buying her ice cream, she learned incredibly fast. She even figured out how to buy maid outfits online, clinging to me every single day, wanting to try out new poses. Before I could even figure out how to handle her intense thirst for knowledge, she came rushing up to me holding a pregnancy test, screaming with excitement. 2 lines, "I'm gonna have your little dragons." I was totally freaking out. "Didn't you say you could use your magic powers to force it out?" She pouted guiltily. "You actually believe me just because I said so?" I was just too lazy to move that day. The morning breeze during my run carried the dampness of the river, feeling so refreshing against my face. My name is Jiang Yuan. Just your average, ordinary office worker, living the exact same boring routine between home and work every single day. In the tall grass by the river, a strange flash of color caught my eye in the morning light. Curious, I walked over and gently pushed the grass aside. A tiny, palm-sized snake was curled up right there. Its scales were a dazzling mix of colors, like shattered stained glass. But, it had this nasty, terrifying gash on its belly. It wasn't bleeding anymore, but it looked really bad. It was barely breathing. It didn't even have the strength to lift its little head. My heart just ached for it, even though I've always been a little freaked out by snakes. Seeing it like this, my pity completely took over. After a whole internal debate, I sighed, gave in, and took off my sports jacket, carefully wrapping it up inside. The little snake was so incredibly light. It felt practically weightless in my hands. Once I brought it home, I dug out my first aid kit, dipped a cotton swab in iodine, and started cleaning its wound. I was totally expecting it to squirm, or even try to bite me, but it didn't. It just lay there so quietly, letting me patch it up. I was pretty surprised by how well behaved it was, and it completely melted away my last bit of fear. I put some ointment on the cut, tore off a piece of gauze, and clumsily bandaged it up. "My name is Jiang Yuan," I said, staring at its weak little body in the shoebox. For some weird reason, I just started talking to it. "I think I'll call you Tian-tian." And, it actually seemed to understand me. It gave the tiniest little twitch of its tail. And just like that, I had a brand new roommate in my life. Over the next month, weird things kept happening. I started noticing that I was sleeping unbelievably well at night. No dreams, no tossing and turning. I'd pass out the second my head hit the pillow. Except, whenever I was half asleep, I'd always feel something icy cold pressing right up against my back. It felt incredibly smooth and delicate, almost like the texture of scales. I just figured I was working too much overtime lately, and the stress was giving me weird hallucinations, so I brushed it off. But then, all the snacks in my apartment started mysteriously vanishing too. Like the brand new bag of potato chips I bought yesterday. The milk in the fridge went missing today. Half of it was just gone before I knew it. I started wondering if I was getting amnesia. That was, until one night, I woke up super thirsty. I groggily walked out to the living room to get some water. Suddenly, a flash of colorful light darted past the fridge. It was so fast I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. I rubbed my eyes, and looked over at the shoebox. Tian-tian was coiled up right inside, sleeping soundly. I shook my head. I must have just been half asleep. Tian-tian's wounds healed really fast. A month went by, and you couldn't even see a single scar. Its scales shimmered and flowed with color under the light. So beautiful it didn't even look like it belonged in this world. I figured, it was time to send it back to where it belonged. I brought it back to the riverbank where I first found it, and gently took it out of the shoebox. I set it down on the grass. "Time to go home," I murmured, gently petting its little head. I actually felt a pang of sadness, but it didn't move an inch. I gave it a little nudge, and instead, it quickly slithered up and wrapped right around my wrist. It squeezed tight. "Hey, be good. Listen to me." I tried to pry it off, but it just held on even tighter. Its tiny body was actually trembling against my wrist. I steeled myself, getting ready to just shake it off by force. But right at that moment, I looked into those little black, beady eyes. And they were welling up with tears. Huge, heavy teardrops started rolling down, one after another. They splashed onto the back of my hand, carrying a hint of icy coldness. It was crying. I just froze. All my resolve, all my logic, completely crumbled in that second. I let out a deep sigh. I was totally defeated. Resigning myself to it, I gently scooped it back into the palm of my hand. Alright, alright, alright. Come home with me. I'll take care of you for the rest of your life, okay? After bringing it back home, I set it down on the nightstand. That night, I slept incredibly deep, the thing pressing against my back felt somehow larger than it ever had before, and much, much softer. The next day, I woke up feeling burning hot. A strange body heat was pressed tightly against me. Like a giant furnace, there was also this heavy, unfamiliar weight pressing down on me, making it hard to breathe. I struggled to open my eyes, my brain still completely foggy, and the first thing I saw was a face so breathtakingly beautiful it made my heart stop. Long, pitch black hair cascaded across my pillow like a waterfall. Spilling over my chest, tangled in those strands of hair, was a pair of crystal clear dragon horns. They looked like they were carved from solid crystal, impossible to miss. She was sprawled on top of me, sleeping soundly. Her cheek was affectionately rubbing against my neck, her breath warm against my skin. My brain instantly short-circuited. Who the hell is this? Why is she in my bed? Did someone break into my house? No, wait. What kind of burglar strips completely naked and falls asleep on top of the owner? My first instinct was to grab my phone and call the cops. But just as my hand brushed against the phone under my pillow, a soft, delicate hand gently pressed down on mine. She was awake. The woman groggily opened her eyes. They were mesmerizing, shimmering with an otherworldly glow. So pure, yet dangerously alluring. When she saw me, her eyes instantly lit up. In a sweet, soft voice, husky from sleep, she murmured, "Husband, you're so warm." My tongue was practically tied in knots. I pointed at the horns on her head, absolutely terrified. Wah, who the hell are you? What are you? Hearing me? Call her a, what? She pouted in annoyance. Her beautiful eyebrows furrowed together. She reached out a slender finger and pointed right at the completely empty shoebox on my nightstand. I'm Tian-tian, silly. Her voice sounded a little hurt. You just said yesterday that you were going to take care of me forever. Did you forget? My eyes darted frantically back and forth between her face and that empty shoebox. My entire understanding of reality was collapsing faster than ever before. My pet snake turned into a human woman? And she had dragon horns. Without even thinking, I reached out my hand and completely lost control, gently touching those beautiful dragon horns. They felt as smooth and warm as jade, yet carried a soothing, cool sensation. It actually felt really nice. But the absolute second my fingertips brushed her horns, Tian-tian's whole body jolted. A deep red blush visibly exploded across her pale cheeks. Her eyes instantly shifted, becoming fiercely possessive, yet somehow shy at the same time. The very next second, she forcefully wrapped her arms around me, pulling me in incredibly tight. A dragon's horns are their most sacred part. No one is allowed to touch them, except for their parents or their mate. She whispered right into my ear, her tone leaving absolutely zero room for argument. You touched my horns. Now, you have to take responsibility for me. From this day forward, I am yours. Wait, no, I am your dragon. I was absolutely dumbfounded. What the hell was happening? I tried to reason with her, desperately prying her clinging arms off my body. Whoa, just calm down. Look, this is what they call humans and monsters belonging to completely different worlds, okay? We just don't work. I am not a monster. Tian-tian shot back instantly, sounding incredibly serious. I am a dragon, a divine beast. Okay, fine. But a divine beast still doesn't work. I was losing my mind. I'm a human, you're a dragon. We are literally completely different species. We can't be together. It's called, reproductive isolation. Yeah, reproductive isolation. But she completely ignored my frantic rambling. Instead, she stubbornly buried her face right into the crook of my neck, taking a deep, long breath. I don't care. Her voice came out all muffled. You smell like my absolute favorite thing in the world. And you're so warm. I want you to be my husband, and that's final. Yeah, there was absolutely no reasoning with her. Seeing how tightly she was clinging to me, I knew I couldn't break free. I just had to accept this reality. Looking at this girl right in front of me, completely naked, and totally clueless about the human world. This dragon girl who just refused to leave me alone. I felt a massive headache coming on. I let out a heavy sigh, and pointed at her bare body. Could you, maybe put some clothes on first? She just blinked her big, innocent eyes. Looking totally confused, I accepted my fate and dug out the biggest t-shirt from my closet. I tossed it over to her. She held it in her hands, studying it for a good long while. And finally, mimicking me, she clumsily pulled it over her head. My t-shirt hung off her, all big and baggy. It barely covered her thighs, making her legs look even longer and paler. I decided I couldn't just sit around doing nothing. A random dragon girl from out of nowhere, just crashing at my place? What kind of mess was this? I had to figure out a way to send her away. We need to talk. I sat down on the couch, trying my best to look dead serious. She immediately scooted over, pressing herself right up against me, and naturally rested her head on my shoulder. What is it, hubby? Stop calling me hubby. You have to leave. I forced myself to be cruel, and just said it straight. The human world is super dangerous. It's not safe for you here. If you stay here, and someone finds out about you, you'll get locked up and dissected in some lab. I tried scaring her into backing off, Tian-tian's head stiffened against my shoulder. She sat bolt upright and stared dead at me, her eyes full of sheer hurt. You're kicking me out? I'm doing this for your own good. You just think I'm a burden. Her eyes instantly welled up with tears. Her voice cracked with a sob. Just yesterday, you said you'd take care of me forever. Men are such liars. My head was absolutely spinning. I just didn't know you were a. You just think I'm useless. That I can't protect you. Tian-tian was completely worked up now. She shot up from the couch. Fine, I'll show you just how tough I really am. She threw her little hands up, looking absolutely dead set on this. Stay right there. Before I even had time to react, a blinding burst of rainbow light exploded from her body. As the glow finally faded, the tiny girl was completely gone, and in her place was a massive beast coiled right in the middle of my living room. It had to be several meters long. Its gigantic body practically swallowed up the whole room. Its glowing, iridescent scales shimmered with a divine light under the ceiling lamp. The dragon's head was almost scraping the ceiling, and those horns, the ones I had just touched, were now magnified 100 times over, looking like a priceless masterpiece. I was absolutely floored by what just happened. I stood there, totally frozen, just staring up at it. So, this was her true form. Tian-tian, no, I should say, the giant dragon right in front of me. Seeing how completely stunned I was, she seemed pretty proud of herself, slowly lowering her massive head. She leaned right into my face, and opened her giant, terrifying jaws. Her razor-sharp teeth gleamed with a cold light, and a low rumble echoed from deep within her throat. It carried a divine aura, vibrating so intensely it made my eardrums ring. She was trying to scare me, but the screams and terror she was expecting never came. After the initial shock wore off, I didn't feel a single ounce of fear. Instead, my eyes lit up with an uncontrollable excitement. So beautiful, I completely ignored her fiercely bared fangs, and her threatening roars. I stepped closer, and reached out my hand. Gently, with a sense of pure, breathless devotion, I stroked the massive, smooth, colorful scales along her cheek. You're so beautiful. I let out a genuine gasp of awe, tracing my fingers along the texture of her scales. Even more beautiful than I imagined. The great dragon's roar came to a sudden halt. She seemed totally dumbfounded, freezing in her majestic pose with her jaws still wide open. Her massive head even tilted to the side in this adorable way, as a confused thought beamed straight into my mind. You aren't scared? I calmly met her gaze, looking right into those eyes that were bigger than lanterns. I just smiled. My hand didn't stop moving, continuing to stroke the cool, smooth surface of her scales. You'd never hurt me, right? Tian-tian's fierce facade instantly crumbled. Her giant head gently nuzzled against the palm of my hand. She was acting just like a clingy, oversized cat. And the voice in my head carried a mix of undisguised pouting and pure joy. She realized that this human, compared to all the others she'd met in the mountains, was completely different. Suddenly, a bright light flashed. The giant dragon vanished, and Tian-tian turned back into her human form. She stood right in front of me, her cheeks flushed bright red. I seized the moment, and immediately started laying down the ground rules. You can stay here, but you have to agree to 3 conditions. Tell me, she nodded frantically, terrified I'd change my mind. First, when we're outside, you absolutely cannot show your dragon horns or tail. You can only let them out when it's just the 2 of us. She nodded eagerly. Second, everything in the house is under my rules. She gave another eager nod. And third, you have to learn basic human common sense. No more causing trouble for me. She thought about it for a second, then brought up her own condition. Okay, but I get to sleep holding my hubby. Looking into those big, hopeful eyes of hers. What else could I even say? I let out a sigh and nodded. What's it like having a dragon for a roommate? My answer? Exhausting. I pointed at the bathroom and explained to her that this was the place for going to the bathroom. She circled the toilet, studying it for ages. Then, she looked at me with a dead serious expression. Hubby, I understand now. Uh-huh. She gave a firm nod, and then pointed directly at the clear water inside the toilet bowl. Is this the little spring you set up for me? The water flow is just way too weak, though. It's not even enough for me to rinse my mouth. Saying that, she leaned in to take a drink. I nearly had a heart attack. I lunged forward and yanked her back. That is not for drinking. It's for flushing poop. I pretty much screamed. My yelling startled her. She looked at me with puppy dog eyes. And after a long pause, she mumbled, "What's poop? Is it tasty?" I could feel my blood pressure skyrocketing. After half an hour of wild hand gestures and frantic explaining, she finally sort of grasped what a toilet was for. Next up, household appliances. I was teaching her how to heat up food in the microwave. Tian-tian stared at the plate spinning at a snail's pace inside, and frowned. This is taking forever, she grumbled. And then, to my absolute horror, she leaned toward the food in the microwave and gently breathed out a mouthful of dragon breath. Suddenly, with a massive bang, the microwave door blew straight off its hinges. A thick cloud of black smoke billowed out, along with this awful, stinging burnt smell. Tian-tian just looked at me with totally innocent eyes. See? That was way faster, right? Staring down at the credit card bill I had just gotten in the mail, it hit me for the very first time. Just how incredibly expensive it is to keep a pet dragon. To try and keep her out of trouble, I shoved the TV remote into her hands. I showed her how to watch TV. At last, she had found something to kill time with. She would just hug that remote and glue herself to the couch for the entire day. But the side effects kicked in fast. One day, she happened to be watching a historical drama, where the emperor was barking orders at his ministers. She whipped her head around, and looked at me dead serious, promising, "Hubby, do not worry. Trash like him? I could send him flying with one flick of my tail. He has zero right to boss you around." I honestly didn't know whether to laugh or cry. But the biggest headache of all was the bathroom. Tian-tian became obsessed with the showerhead. She genuinely believed it was a magical artifact that could control the weather and summon the rain. The absolute highlight of her day, every single day, was splashing around in the bathroom until she was completely soaked from head to toe. The other day, I got home from work, and the second I opened the front door, water came flooding right out from under the doorframe. My heart dropped. I sprinted to the bathroom, only to see Tian-tian, hair completely drenched, dancing around happily under the overhead shower. When she spotted me, she proudly tried to show off, shouting, "Hubby, look, I summoned the rain for you." Staring at the flooded apartment, I didn't even have the energy to be mad anymore. Tian-tian was endlessly curious about everything in the human world. So, I decided to take her out to buy some actual, normal clothes. Right before we left, I begged her, over and over again, to keep her dragon horns and tail completely hidden. She gave a good little nod. But the second we hit the mall, she was like a kid in a candy store. She found everything so fascinating. We were just walking past an ice cream shop, and she stopped dead in her tracks. She tugged at the hem of my shirt, staring longingly at all the different ice creams in the display window. "I want that one. I'll buy you some when we head back." I tried to pull her away, but she wouldn't budge. She went straight for her ultimate weapon. She whipped the hat right off her head. Those beautiful dragon horns were instantly exposed for the world to see. Then, she stood on her tiptoes, gently rubbing those cool horns against my cheek, and whined in the absolute sweetest, softest voice. "Pretty please? Just one." People around us started staring in awe, and quite a few even whipped out their phones. They probably thought they'd stumbled upon some gorgeous cosplayer. My face flushed all sorts of colors. I was exasperated but utterly helpless, so I finally caved. I dragged her into the shop, paid as fast as humanly possible, and fled the scene at lightning speed. Once we got back home, I kept a straight face, pretending to be absolutely furious. Tian-tian trailed behind me so carefully, looking just like a kid who'd done something wrong. She held up her untouched ice cream to me and said pitifully, "If you eat this, will you stop being mad?" Looking at her acting like that, how could I possibly stay mad at her? Through all these ridiculous, laugh-out-loud moments of our daily life, I realized I was getting more and more used to it. I was actually enjoying this feeling of being needed and relied on by her. That night, just like always, Tian-tian clung to me like an octopus in bed. She leaned close to my ear, and in a tone just brimming with curiosity, she whispered, "I was watching TV today. They said couples are supposed to do more intimate things." Like what? Ever since Yao Yao learned how to use the internet, a whole new world opened up for her. I bought her an iPad, originally just hoping she'd learn a bit more about how human society works, so she'd stop making such silly mistakes in public. Instead, she dove headfirst into a massive binge of trashy romance dramas, and got completely hooked. Her learning curve was honestly terrifying. A few days later, when I came home from work, I was expecting her to tackle me like an excited puppy, but the living room was dead silent. Tian-tian was lounging lazily on the sofa, wearing one of my oversized white button-down shirts. Her long, pale legs were crossed elegantly. Hearing the door open, she slowly lifted her gaze, looking at me with this scrutinizing, almost icy stare. Being looked at like that seriously gave me the chills. What's going on here?" I asked while nervously taking off my shoes. Tian-tian didn't answer right away. She just glanced up at the wall clock, parted her red lips, and said in this ridiculously cool, magnetic voice, "You're exactly 10 minutes late today." I nearly did a spit take. That line, why did that sound so incredibly familiar? Wasn't that straight out of that cheesy CEO drama she was watching yesterday? Ever since that day, the entire vibe of my house did a total 180. Tian-tian was no longer my clueless, adorable little dragon girl. She was going full-on cold, bossy older sister mode. Whenever I cook, she rests her chin in her hand, supervising me from the sidelines, waiting for me to serve the food. She'll take one delicate little bite, and then deliver her verdict. Not bad. It's barely worthy of my appetite. When I blow dry her hair, she closes her eyes, looking completely blissful. Then she'll casually murmur, "Hey, good technique." After that, she'll suddenly snap her eyes open, and lean in close to my ear. Her warm breath makes my ear tingle. Tonight, I'll allow you to get a little closer to me. Her sudden, dangerously flirtatious words make my heart race and my cheeks burn up. But I just force myself to stay calm and look away. I'm realizing, it's getting harder and harder to treat her like some pet that needs looking after. Or a child. In my heart, she's already become a vibrant, alluring woman. And as she gets deeper into this role of hers, Tian-tian's possessiveness is getting stronger and stronger. Because of some work stuff, I ended up chatting a bit extra with a female coworker on WeChat. I didn't even notice when Tian-tian sneaked up on me, but she glanced at my phone screen, and her face instantly turned ice cold. She didn't say a word. She just quietly snatched my phone right out of my hand. And looking right at me, asked in a tone that left zero room for argument. Who is this woman? A coworker? Or just talking about work? I explained. My dear husband. She looked up, with a dangerous little glint in her eyes. In your eyes, there can only be me. The second she finished speaking, she grabbed my finger and used my fingerprint to unlock the screen. Then she swiftly and ruthlessly pulled up that female coworker's profile. Hey, don't. I still need to hand over some work to her tomorrow. I don't care. She tapped the delete button without hesitating. Her whole sequence of moves was smooth as silk, so fast I didn't even have time to stop her. Once she was done, she handed the phone back to me. Her face going right back to that aloof, haughty look. As if she wasn't the domineering maniac who just deleted my contact. I stared at my phone, completely at a loss whether to laugh or cry. This wonderfully chaotic little world of ours got completely shattered one weekend. My childhood buddy, Fatty Xiao, didn't even give me a heads up. He just stormed right up to my front door carrying 2 bottles of booze. Jiang Yuan, open the door, your boy just got dumped. We're not stopping till we're wasted tonight. His howling from outside made my stomach drop. Tian-tian was still out in the living room watching TV. Panicking, I sprinted into the living room, dropped my voice, and hissed at her. Quick, go back to your room. My friend is here. Whatever you do, do not come out, and do not make a sound. My frantic reaction caught Tian-tian completely off guard. She thought it was an enemy invasion, instantly going into full-on combat mode. Poof, her dragon horns suddenly popped out of her head. A colorful tail also appeared behind her back, swaying cautiously from side to side. Don't be scared, hubby. I'll handle him. Handle my foot. I was sweating bullets from pure panic. I didn't have time to care about anything else, and just shoved her straight into the bedroom. Then, bam, with a loud bang, I slammed the door shut. Listen to me, no matter what you hear, do not come out. I had just locked the door when Fatty Xiao had already used his spare key to let himself in. The second he walked in, he was loud and obnoxious. Well, look at you, Jiang Yuan, living all by yourself and you still lock the door. Who are you trying to keep out? He said, sniffing the air aggressively. Why does your place smell so good? Smells amazing, actually. My heart leapt right into my throat. That was Tian-tian's natural scent. It's an incense I lit. I lied with a completely straight face. Fatty Xiao didn't seem to care. He plopped down onto the sofa, his eyes scanning the room. Suddenly, his gaze stopped at the crack of the couch. He reached in and pulled out a long, jet black strand of hair. Oh, you sneaky bastard. He held up the hair, looking at me with a wicked smirk. And you claim to be a lonely single guy. You're hiding a secret beauty in here, aren't you? Come clean. Where are you hiding her? Hiding who? My mom came over a couple of days ago. Is that a crime? I denied it to my dying breath. Your mom has short hair. Fatty Xiao shattered my lie with a single sentence. The more he talked, the more excited he got. He jumped up and lunged straight for the bedroom. Let me see what kind of goddess managed to tame a clueless block of wood like you. I was terrified. I dashed over, throwing my arms out wide to firmly block the bedroom door. Stop messing around. There is nobody in there. If there's nobody, why are you acting so guilty? The fatty wasn't buying it, insisting on pushing his way inside. We started shoving and pulling at each other in the doorway. He had a few drinks in him, so he was a little unsteady on his feet. Suddenly he let out a yelp, completely losing his balance. He fell forward, heading straight for the sharp corner of the glass coffee table. My pupils shrank in horror. It was way too late to grab him. But in that split second, shooting out from the crack of the bedroom door, a colorful phantom flashed like lightning. It was a dragon's tail, covered in gorgeous scales. It perfectly wrapped around Fatty Xiao's waist right before he hit the ground. And with a gentle toss, safely deposited him right onto the nearby sofa. The whole thing happened in the blink of an eye. Fatty Xiao only felt something tighten around his waist. And then the room spun before he landed on his butt. He sat on the couch looking utterly bewildered, rubbing his eyes. Wait, wasn't I just about to wipe out? How did I end up sitting here? He probably just assumed he was hallucinating from drinking too much. My heart, however, was hammering frantically in my chest. A cold sweat had completely soaked my back. I pacified the dumbfounded Fatty Xiao, telling him to just watch TV for a second. And then I sprinted frantically into the bedroom. The moment I got in, I saw Tian-tian standing frozen in place, looking at me with absolute panic. Just like a kid who got caught doing something bad, her tail coiling anxiously behind her back. "Hubby, I didn't mean to. I was just scared he'd hurt himself." Seeing her looking like she was about to burst into tears, I stepped forward and opened my arms, and pulled her into a tight hug. She stiffened for a second, before hugging me back just as fiercely. After that, my relationship with Tian-tian changed a lot. I stopped treating her like someone I had to constantly keep an eye on. I truly accepted her as a part of my life, and Tian-tian grew even more dependent on me. Her curiosity about the human world hadn't faded one bit. She was especially fascinated by the thing I stared at for hours every single day. But what she was most curious about was something in my computer's D drive. That specific one I named Study Materials. Yeah, that folder. "What exactly are you studying in here every day? Why won't you let me see?" She asked me that more than once while pointing at the screen. And every time, my face would turn bright red, as I mumbled some lame excuse. "It's stuff kids shouldn't be looking at. I'm not a kid. I'm literally thousands of years old." She'd always pout and argue back. But the more I tried to hide it, the more curious she got. Until finally, she found her chance. One day, after dinner, I went to take a shower. I'd left my computer on. Tian-tian, like a curious little cat, sneaked over to the screen. Relying on her super-powered memory, she copied how I usually used it, wiggling the mouse like a pro, and flipped open the folder she'd been obsessing over. 3 folders deep, hidden in the darkest corners of the D drive. She finally unearthed the hidden treasure. Instantly, a dizzying array of wild file names and thumbnails flooded the screen. For the very first time, Tian-tian's dragon face showed a mix of absolute shock and a tiny hint of "oh, so that's what it is." It was a very complicated expression. She sat cross-legged on the chair, resting her chin on her little hands, looking exactly like a model student. As she curiously clicked on a video file, the very next second, some very questionable sounds and visuals blasted from the speakers. Tian-tian watched in absolute fascination, even pulling out a little notebook, looking totally ready to take down the key study points. By the time I finished my shower, and strolled out humming a little tune, this was the exact scene I walked into. Tian-tian was glued to the monitor, staring unblinking as the screen played out an intense action blockbuster. The heavy, suggestive sounds were echoing through the entire room. I was scared absolutely out of my mind. My brain just went buzz, completely blank. I dashed over in a split second and slammed the laptop shut with a loud smack. Finally, some peace and quiet. I could feel my face burning as red as a baboon's butt. And I stammered, desperately trying to explain myself. Well, it's not what you think. This is," but before I could even finish my sentence. But Tian-tian just turned around, her eyes sparkling brightly, like they were dipped in starlight. There wasn't a hint of shyness or discomfort on her face. Instead, they were filled with this intense curiosity to explore. She licked her lips, and used a completely new tone that made my scalp tingle, to whisper softly. "So, this is what the internet means by getting more intimate." She pointed at the laptop I had just slammed shut, looking at me with total seriousness. "That position looks really interesting. Shouldn't we test it out?" I had seriously underestimated the impact of adult educational materials on a pure-hearted dragon, and I had severely overestimated my own self-control against a dragon who loves hands-on learning. From that day on, Tian-tian completely let loose. Her personality went through its 3rd major evolution. If her previous aloof, mature persona was just verbal teasing, well, now she was actually putting things into practice. Whenever I was cooking in the kitchen, wearing my apron, Tian-tian would slither up from behind like she had no bones, wrap her arms around my waist, and blow her warm breath right against my ear. The books say, a man in an apron is the sexiest thing ever. Her voice was soft and seductive, carrying this bewitching kind of magic. Especially when he's only wearing an apron. My hand jolted, and I almost dumped the entire shaker of salt into the pot. When I was in the study reading, trying to cool down my racing heart with the ocean of knowledge, Tian-tian would silently transform into that little colorful snake, slither all the way up my pant leg, and poke her little head out from my collar. Her cool, smooth scales gliding against my bare skin sent shivers right through my body. She even figured out online shopping. The delivery guy had practically become our best friend lately, dropping off the weirdest packages. That is, until I saw her wearing an outfit that was clearly a size too small, complete with a fluffy cat ear headband, swaying back and forth in front of me. She held a feather duster in one hand and gave me a dead serious little curtsy. "Master, do you require cleaning services right now?" I nearly coughed up blood. Seeing my stunned silence, she tilted her head to the side and asked with the most innocent expression, "Husband, am I doing this right? The internet says this is called roleplay." I felt like I was losing my damn mind. I couldn't survive this anymore. But the absolute worst was nighttime. She would push me down onto the couch, copying the stuff she'd seen in those movies, pinning me down with her hands on either side of my body, She'd look down at me from above. Those gorgeous little dragon horns of hers would literally glow from excitement, and her colorful eyes were filled entirely with my reflection. Husband, stop resisting. You wouldn't want everyone to know you're hiding a dragon in your house, would you? Her voice carried this undeniable, bossy dominance. Now, let's test out what I learned about the sofa scene. I was desperately fighting for my life every single day in this sweet, tortuous hell. I had to scramble to defend against her bolder, way more direct attacks. While completely melting under her pure, unfiltered desires, I was getting totally wrecked. She hugged the tablet to her chest, scrolling through the dense, highly detailed study notes on the screen, and came to me looking utterly distressed. These positions are way too hard. I don't think my human body can bend like this. Just give it up. The only people who can pull off that kind of pose are professional dancers. Even yoga masters rarely pull that off. I had just breathed a sigh of relief, thinking she had finally given up, but then her next sentence completely caught me off guard. Her eyes lit up, as if she just had a brilliant idea. Oh, I know, hubby, how about I turn back into my dragon form and use my tail to help you out? My tail is super flexible. I couldn't sit there another second. I bounced right off the couch, scrambled away, and sprinted straight into the bathroom, locking the door behind me. This is terrifying. This dragon, she is absolutely terrifying. Even though Tian-tian is a dragon who's lived for thousands of years, when it comes to controlling her strength, especially when she gets all hyped up, she's still just like a kid. The other day, we were on the couch, goofing around. Well, it was mostly just her being super handsy with me. While I tried desperately to defend my innocence, she was having so much fun, and got way too excited, completely forgetting to hold back. Her dragon tail whipped out of control with a massive swipe, and suddenly, crack, a sharp, sickening sound. My brand new laptop took a direct hit right from the tip of her tail. The screen instantly shattered into a million pieces and went completely black. Laughing and joking stopped dead. Tian-tian froze in place. I just sat there, staring blankly at the laptop. Only one thought was racing through my mind. My files, my drafts, my entire life's work. Tian-tian saw the look of absolute shock on my face, then looked down at the smashed laptop. She completely panicked. She thought I was furious. I didn't mean to, she whimpered, climbing off of me. She stood to the side, completely helpless, her beautiful eyes turning red right in front of me. Big, glassy tears started welling up, trembling on the edge of her eyelashes. Seeing her like that made my heart physically ache. Her emotions were spiraling so fast that her inner dragon magic was going out of whack. The light bulbs in the room started flickering like crazy, and all the other electronics started buzzing and hissing, sparking with electricity like they were about to blow up at any second. I snapped out of it immediately. A broken laptop can be replaced. My, study materials can always be downloaded again. But if my wife gets terrified, that is a massive disaster. I wasn't mad at all, not even a little bit. I stepped right up, and gently pulled her crying face into my chest. Her whole body was trembling slightly. I rubbed her back, comforting her in the softest voice I could muster. You silly girl, what are you crying for? It's just a laptop. It broke, so we'll just buy a new one. I cupped her face in my hands, wiping the tears from her eyes, and asked softly, you didn't hurt yourself, did you? Does your tail hurt? Tian-tian just melted into my arms. Feeling my steady heartbeat and gentle tone, her out-of-control dragon magic instantly calmed down. The lights in the room returned to normal. She buried her face deep into my chest. Her voice was muffled, thick with emotion. You're so sweet to me. I smiled and gently patted her back. She looked up, staring at me with red, teary eyes. Then she quietly added, then you need to buy a new one. As soon as possible, or else I won't be able to learn anything new tomorrow. And I won't be able to watch those videos either. She really was a little perverted dragon, constantly thinking about her studies. I shook my head helplessly and tapped her nose with affection. After that whole incident, Tiantian's reliance and love for me reached an absolute peak. She finally understood that what this man accepted wasn't just her identity as a dragon, but absolutely everything about her. Including her flaws, her clumsiness, the messes she made when she occasionally lost control. Tiantian's constant blend of innocent and seductive advances were finally wearing down the last of my reason and self-control. I felt like a rubber band stretched to its absolute limit, ready to snap at any second. And the straw that broke the camel's back arrived quietly late one night. The company had thrown some last-minute tasks at me that day. I worked overtime until the dead of night before dragging my exhausted body home. The entire city had fallen fast asleep, and I felt so drained I was ready to collapse. I pulled out my keys and quietly opened the door, thinking Tiantian would already be sound asleep. But a dim floor lamp was still glowing in the living room. Tiantian wasn't sleeping. She was wearing my oversized white dress shirt, hugging her knees, curled up in the corner of the couch like a little kitten waiting for its owner to come home. Hearing the door open, her head snapped up immediately, and when she saw how completely exhausted I looked, her beautiful eyes were instantly filled with heartache. She jumped right off the couch and hurried over to me. But this time, she didn't pounce on me or get handsy like she usually did, nor did she say anything seductive or naughty. She didn't say a word. She just stood on her tiptoes, wrapped her arms around my neck, and softly, gently pressed a comforting kiss against my lips. Then, she took my hand and led me to the bathroom in complete silence. When I walked in, I found the bathtub already filled to the brim with hot water, with a few flower petals floating on the surface, giving off a faint, sweet scent. Her gentleness and thoughtfulness in that moment felt like a rush of warmth, hitting right at the absolute softest part of my heart. All my exhaustion and stress felt completely washed away right then and there. I realized that, without me even noticing, she had grown from a troublemaker who needed my constant care, into someone who could actually share the emotional load with me, a true partner who warmed my soul. When I finished my bath and walked out wrapped in a towel, Tian-tian hugged me once again. This time, there were no learned tricks or deliberate seduction in her eyes, leaving only the purest love and deepest affection. She looked up at me. In the softest, most earnest whisper, she said, "My husband, I love you." After a brief pause, she playfully added, "So, let's learn some new things today." Wait, no, was it new things, or new positions? Every last defense in my heart completely crumbled. I leaned down and kissed her deeply. All my reason and restraint vanished in that single moment. "Me too," I whispered back, my voice completely hoarse. I scooped her up in my arms and carried her toward the bedroom. "But, Tian-tian, I'm a little tired today." Nestled in my arms, she gave a mischievous wink, and nuzzled my chin with her dragon horns. Being tired is a good thing. The more tired you are, the sweeter you'll sleep. That night, the room was no longer filled with one-sided teasing and dodging. The dragon horns on Tian-tian's head glowed with a soft, iridescent light, illuminating our tightly entwined silhouettes. It shone on our bodies and souls, completely melting into one another. After that huge milestone in our relationship, our life living together entered a whole new chapter. The sweetness doubled, the clinginess doubled, too. Tian-tian's dragon tail became my very own personal body pillow. Warm in the winter, cool in the summer, and absolutely incredibly soft. She completely dropped the aloof, cool girl act, turning right back into that super clingy little dragon girl whenever we were alone. Every single morning when I woke up, I find her sprawled across my chest, looking completely satisfied. Just like a cat recharging its battery. But, that easy routine didn't last long. I noticed Tian-tian was acting a bit strange lately. She started sleeping all the time. Half the time, I'd still be cooking dinner, and she'd already be fast asleep on the couch. And on top of that, she completely lost interest in her favorite chips, fried chicken, and soda. Instead, she got utterly obsessed with my mom's pickled radishes. She'd hug the jar every day, crunching away at them. I started getting worried. "Tian-tian, are you feeling sick? Are you having trouble adjusting to the human world?" But she just waved it off without a care, a piece of pickled radish still dangling from her mouth. "No way, I'm a dragon. I'm as healthy as an ox," she insisted confidently, but she was looking paler and paler by the day. I couldn't just let it go. So, I went online and looked up her symptoms. Loss of appetite, craving sour foods. As I scrolled through the search results, a wild, yet strangely logical thought popped into my head. No, it couldn't be. With a bit of coaxing and sweet talking, I bought a pregnancy test from the pharmacy. I asked her to give it a try. Tian-tian held the little plastic stick, looking completely puzzled. "What is this? Some kind of new toy?" "It's not a toy, just follow the instructions on the box." I gently pushed her into the bathroom. She fumbled around in there for ages. Before finally coming out with it, she held the pregnancy test right up to my face. She excitedly waved it back and forth right in front of my eyes. "Look, it's 2 lines. I was watching TV today, and the main character got 2 lines just like this." The doctor told her she was expecting, and her face turned so red from all the excitement. She threw her arms around me and happily announced, "I'm pregnant. I'm gonna give you a little dragon." I completely froze. It felt like a bomb had just gone off in my head. Leaving my ears ringing, I snatched the pregnancy test right out of her hand and stared at it closely. 2 bright red lines, glaring right back at me. I felt like my brain had completely turned to mush. I was shocked, overjoyed, and honestly, a little annoyed. I looked at Tian-tian, who was still practically vibrating with excitement, and couldn't help raising my voice. "Why you? Didn't you say you could use your magic to force it out? How did you still get pregnant?" If I had known, we would have used protection. Faced with my yelling, the excitement on Tian-tian's face faded just a little. She guiltily looked away, then gave a stubborn, defensive little pout. "You actually believed it when I said it?" Her voice was quiet, with a hint of weak defense. That day, I was just feeling too lazy to do it that day. Who knew? As she spoke, she awkwardly scratched her head, and started muttering under her breath. How was I supposed to know I'd get knocked up so easily? This makes no sense. Wait, am I one of those legendary, super fertile dragons? Seeing her thinking about it so seriously, every last bit of my anger just melted away. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She seemed to give up on trying to figure out this profound mystery, too. She rubbed her hair in frustration. Whatever. Too lazy to think about it. I'm not thinking about it anymore. The very next second, her whole vibe completely changed. She put her hands on her hips and proudly puffed out her still flat little belly. She glared at me, sounding incredibly bossy. I don't care, she declared aggressively. We're having a baby now anyway, so don't even think about running away. She marched right up to me, step by step, stood on her tiptoes, and used those pretty little dragon horns of hers to give my chin a gentle little nudge. Her eyes were filled with an absolute, unquestionable command. We are getting married, tomorrow, no excuses. Looking at this girl in front of me, so bossy yet so adorable, trying her best to turn her own laziness and little accident into the ultimate victory. My sweet dragon girl. All my mixed feelings finally melted into a helpless, totally smitten laugh. What else could I possibly do? She's my dragon. I have no choice but to spoil her rotten. I reached out and pulled her tightly into my arms, pressing a deep, lingering kiss to her forehead. All right. We'll get married right away. I pulled out my phone, and with her looking up at me all smug and triumphant, I dialed my mom's number. As the call connected, I took a deep breath, laughing with a helpless but joyful tone. Dad, Mom, you two better get yourselves ready. I'm getting married, and you're probably going to be a grandma.